Tonight, at this table in this room, my ex-husband slid loan papers toward me and called it just a signature. But I came here with 3 quiet rules and a clear memory. Lois, if you don't help, they'll swallow me alive, he says, tapping the folder on this table. I'm Lois. I keep calm eyes on numbers and names. Across from me in this room sits Frank, the man I divorced last year, and beside him his mother, Mrs. Keene, perched in this chair like a judge. Frank pushes the folder closer. It's only a consolidation loan. They just need a guarantor. Your condo makes the bank relax. He smiles the same nervous smile he used the night he said, "We'll talk after the party." I rest my hands flat on this table so they don't curl into fists. I have already seen what happens when I let other people write my future. Tonight, I keep the pen. The last time I trusted Frank with just paperwork, I was sitting in this same chair. Back then, he still wore his wedding ring and carried a speech in his pocket. "Let me handle the legal side," he'd said, promising a surprise at our anniversary. The surprise turned out to be divorce papers and a public speech that tried to paint me as dead weight. He expected me to fall apart and sign anything from shock. Instead, I walked out, came back to this room, and spread every deed and bank statement across this table until I understood exactly what was mine. That night, I promised myself, never again fast signatures, never again secrets about my own roof. After the divorce, I came back to this room with my friend Devika, who is a financial counselor. We sat at this table, 2 women with strong tea and stronger highlighters. She showed me where Frank had taken out quiet loans while we were still together, using our joint account like a private pond. "He's going to be back," she warned. "Men like that usually return when the bills come due." I believed her. "What do I do when he comes?" I asked. She wrote 3 short lines on an index card and slid it across this table. "These are your rules," she said. "Read them until they feel like breath." The card is still in my pocket now. I touched it when Frank walked in tonight, before his mother followed with her perfume and long sighs. Earlier this afternoon, I sat alone in this chair and practiced the sentences out loud. Rule 1. I don't sign new debt for adults. Rule 2. My home never stands as collateral for someone else's mess. Rule 3. Big money talks must wait for a neutral helper. Simple, short, almost boring. That's the point. Drama used to be Frank's weapon. Now my weapon is dull language that cannot be twisted. "You know I wouldn't ask if it wasn't serious," Frank says, loosening his tie like a man in a movie. "The business went under, the cards are maxed, but if I can roll everything into this one loan, they'll give me a fresh start. They just need someone responsible on the form. That's you." His mother nods in this chair, lips pinched. "You lived on his salary for years," she says. "You owe him this much." I breathe once, low and slow, feeling my ribs move against the back of this chair. "Owe." Such a heavy little word. I open the folder. Not to sign, just to look. Numbers stare up at me from this table. Balances, interest rates, late fees that grow like mold. "You borrowed all this after we separated?" I ask. Frank shrugs. "Life got expensive. I was sure the new job would work out." I tap one page. Here it says luxury cinema membership. Here, jewelry boutique. Here, VIP club. That is not life. That is pretending. His face reddens. So what? You're comfortable now. Everyone knows about the money you walked away with. His mother sniffs. Keeping it all to yourself does not look good, Lois. I think back to the months after the divorce, when this room smelled of cheap coffee and fear. The settlement was not huge, just my fair share of what we had built. Frank got his half too. He burned through his on-trips, gadgets, and networking. I stayed in this chair with a notebook and a stack of bills. I cut my cable, packed lunches, wore the same winter coat 3 years in a row. I learned how index funds work. Every spare dollar went into slow, boring investments with names that would never trend. My money did not grow because I was lucky. It grew because I lived small and thought long. Out there, people whisper that I made off with his money. They do not see this table, where I spent Friday nights coloring in a savings chart instead of going out. They do not see the extra shifts, the side gigs, the hours on the phone with the bank asking calm questions until I understood every fee. Frank's share of the settlement is already smoke. Mine is now a quiet cushion in my own name. When he says you're rich now, what he really means is you were careful when I was careless. That is not a sin. That is skill. Before we talk about your fear, I say, we need to be honest about what you're asking. I lay out 1 page on this table so all 3 of us can see. Here, where it says guarantor, that means if you stop paying, the bank comes to me. It means my savings from all those tight years, my pension, my settlement that I grew instead of spending, and this home all stand behind your choices. I tap the line slowly. You are not asking for a signature. You are asking for my future. Frank flinches. His mother rolls her eyes. So dramatic, she mutters. But the paper is clear. I pull the index card from my pocket and set it next to the loan. What's that? Frank asks. My policy, I answer. After what happened last year, I wrote myself 3 rules. They are not about you, they are about me. I read the first line aloud, letting each word land in this room. I do not sign new debt for adults. Frank laughs, a short, sharp sound. So you'd rather watch me sink? I shake my head. I would rather you learn to swim. Me climbing into your debt won't teach that. His mother scoffs. You always were selfish, she says. Selfish. Another heavy word. When Frank's speech at the party went around our circle, people called me selfish for walking away, for keeping the condo, for not crying on cue. What they did not see was this room afterward. Me at this table with swollen eyes, calculating what I could safely give and what I had to guard. I did help him once, quietly, with a month of rent. He spent part of it on a weekend away with his assistant. The receipt landed right here on this table. Tonight, when they say selfish, I translate it in my mind. Not available for reuse. I read the second line on the card. My home never stands as collateral for someone else's mess. Frank bangs his fist lightly on this table. Mess? I built my career for us. I nod. And then you tried to erase me from it with a microphone. His mother cuts in. That was a misunderstanding, she says. You embarrassed him with those documents. You wounded his pride. I look at her, feeling more tired than angry. He wounded his own pride, Mrs. Keene. I only read facts out loud. I tap the card again. This room is where I learned my lesson. The condo is my boundary, not our bargaining chip. The third line is the hardest one. Big money talks must wait for a neutral helper. I slide the card toward Frank so he can read it himself. What does that mean? He asks. It means I don't discuss loans, guarantees, or big transfers without someone in the room whose job is to keep things fair, I say. A counselor, a lawyer, a debt advisor. Not your mother, not my cousin, not a neighbor who owes you a favor. His mother stiffens in this chair. So you don't trust us? I don't put anyone in that position, I answer. Not even myself. The bank needs an answer tonight, Frank insists. The officer said if I don't return these forms tomorrow, the offer disappears. There is no next week. His voice cracks on the last words. I open the pen from my bag. For a heartbeat, he brightens, thinking he's won. Instead, I lean over this table and write today's date in the blank that says, "Offer expires," then draw a slow, neat line straight through it. Ink against paper sounds very loud in this room. "Lois, what are you doing?" he blurts. When I don't answer right away, the color drains from his face. No, you can't play with that. They told me this is my last chance. The last bank that will even look at me. Panic breaks through his charm like cracks in glass. He scrambles for the folder, hands shaking. "You don't understand," he says, voice rising. "I'm already 2 months behind on rent. My car is on repossession notice. Keller pulled out as co-signer last night. My mother's pension is too small. They laughed at her. You're it, Lois. You're the only person they still believe in. If you say no, I'm finished." For a moment, I see it clearly. All his roads ending at this table. He finally understands that when he lost me, he also lost his safest place to land. I feel the weight of that, and still I keep my hand steady. "I do understand," I say softly. "That's exactly why I can't do this." I push the folder back toward him across this table. "Here is what I am willing to do," I say. "I will write a short statement for the bank confirming that the condo is mine alone and cannot be used as security. I will not sign anywhere on these forms. I will, if you like, sit with you and a debt counselor once, in this room, at this table, while you make a plan that does not involve my assets, my savings, my settlement, my years of saying no to myself." Frank stares at the folder as if it might bite him. "That's nothing," he mutters. "That is already more than you offered me on our anniversary," I answer gently. His mother tries one last angle. "Think of the years, Lois," she says. 25 years of meals, vacations, support. Does that count for nothing? I feel the weight of those years in my shoulders, in the lines on my hands resting on this table. "It counts," I reply. "It counts as a full chapter of my life. It does not count as a bill." She blinks, thrown off by the answer. "You can come here to talk about family, to drink tea, to remember the good parts. You cannot come here to turn history into collateral." Frank gathers the papers, movements jerky. "Everyone will think you're heartless," he says. "They'll say you left me to drown." I tilt my head. "They already thought I was weak," I remind him. "Then they saw me stand up at that microphone and speak plain. People will think what they think. I'm done living inside their guesses." I lean forward a little. "But if anyone asks me, I will tell them the truth. My ex-husband asked me to risk my home and the savings I built from our settlement and my work for debts he made after he left, and I said no." The sentence feels heavy and clean in this room. At last, Frank stands. The chair scrapes softly on the floor. His mother rises more slowly, still staring at me as if waiting for a last-minute change. None comes. At the doorway, Frank turns back. "You really won't even think about it?" he asks. I shake my head. "I already thought about it," I say. "For months. I knew you would come. I wrote my rules then, so I wouldn't have to invent them while looking at your face." He opens his mouth, then closes it again. "Fine," he mutters. "Keep your rules." The door closes behind them. This room finally exhales. Now I sit alone at this table in this room, the empty spot where the folder lay still warm. I put the index card in the center and smooth it with my palm. If you are listening, and someone who once betrayed you comes back with new papers and old charm, hear this. You are not cruel for guarding your roof. You are not selfish for protecting the savings you built with small lives and long patience. You can wish someone well and still refuse to guarantee their debts. You can keep your name off their loan and your house keys in your own pocket, right here at this table, in this room.